Hey fans of The Graduate, what we have in front of us is the last poignant scene where Elaine and Ben run off into the sunset from this angle right here. One of the most memorable scenes in film history. The film was released in December of 1967. And if you remember how he jammed that door with a crucifix after battling the family to get Elaine away from that marriage so he could have her, and then them running off into the sunset, getting on the bus there, that wonderful poignant scene. And here's the interior, and I'll never forget that wonderful bright interior. It's kind of like cloudy today, but I'm going to take you to the back. You can get a better gander of the way it looked. And here down these steps they ran, and then the family all bunched up at that door there, the glass door. And this is 3205 D Street in Laverne, and this is the United Methodist Church. If you're a fan of The Graduate and you want to come, thankfully the movie film location is still here. And this wonderful looking church, this postmodern concrete form church. Let's go to the back here. You can get a pretty good idea of the way it looks inside. This film is the 21st highest grossing film in the United States and Canada of all time, and it's the 17th best film of all time of the top 100 according to the American Film Institute. Okay, let's go back here. Mike Nichols, he did a wonderful job in directing these great scenes. And here you go. Here's the interior. That beautiful glass interior, high vaulted ceilings, and then the way the crucifix looked over here. Let's see if you can see that. I know there's like a lot of reflection. Anyway, Catherine Ross, during the audition, she said that she didn't want to have anything to do with being casted next to Dustin Hoffman, because she said he looked about 3 feet tall, even though the poor guy was 5'6" and she was 5'5", and she said it was going to be a disaster in her opinion. much did she know, huh? And she said he was very unkempt, and anyway, he said that he originally thought about Robert Redford, Mike Nichols, but he said that you needed a guy that was like kind of like a guy like Dustin Hoffman, that could play a guy with low self-esteem, and not like some like young guy like Robert Redford, who would obviously be too successful with women. And they said it was a perfect match. A lot of people agree with that. According to the book, it was the right character that he played. Dustin, vulnerable, shy, and kind of like bumbling. And this film, if you were alive at that time, the emotions, the energy it emanated from this film, everybody loved that. I guess maybe it could have been about, maybe the song had a lot to do with that. In fact, Paul Simon, he was supposed to write 3 songs, and Mike Nichols was up against the clock, and he said, "Hey man, you got to do something. What do you got?" And he goes, "Well, I got a song about the old times, and it's about Mrs. Roosevelt and Joe DiMaggio." And he goes, "Well, I hate to tell you this, but it's gonna be about Mrs. Robinson." So that's the way that came about, and that's kind of like serendipitous, because what are the odds that Mrs. Roosevelt and Mrs. Robinson had 3 syllables, and he wasn't even writing the song for the film. So that worked out, I guess synchronistically. It was all necessary. And here you go. And if you see in the film, pretty much all that's all rural fields right over there, and that's where the fictional bus stop was, obviously. And then Elaine and Ben riding off into the future, looking at each other happily and lovingly, and then looking straight into the camera, bewildered, not knowing where their future lied. And anyway, like according to the, I guess, like the poster, like it said, this is Benjamin. He's a little worried about his future. And then there's another one that says, what do you do after you graduate? So I guess it was maybe that, like they found each other, then they had just graduated, but they didn't know where their future lied anymore. So here you go, for what it's worth. And please subscribe to my channel. I do a lot of these type things, 1960s popular culture and 1960s rock and roll. And as you know, I do a lot of grave sites, a lot of where the movie stars lived or musicians and that sort of thing, because I'm always concerned that I should be doing this for posterity and of course the fans of all that era. And one day a lot of these places won't even be here, so at least here we go for us fans of The Graduate, one of the greatest films of all time. And if you were alive at that time, you probably can remember obviously what it was like when you saw Elaine and Ben running out of this this front door, and Ben poignantly screaming out, "Elaine, Elaine, Elaine," and then Elaine goes, "Ben, Ben, Ben," and then Anne Bancroft, the mother, goes, "No, it's too late," and she goes, "No, it's not too late for me." And then they run out of here and they run down these steps into their future, as it were, off into the sunset. And he was actually going to cast Gene Hackman as the actor who played for Mr. Robinson, who was actually Murray Hamilton, and he actually wanted Doris Day, if you can believe it, for Mrs. Robinson. And in the film, Catherine Ross, she was only she was supposed to be 19, but she was 27. And of course, Dustin Hoffman, Ben, he was supposed to be 21, he was 29. And Anne Bancroft, she was 35, even though she said, "I'm twice your age, Ben." Okay, well, there you go. Like I said, this is 3205 D Street in Laverne, California, about 2 miles north of Pomona. And here you go. Thank you very much, and hope you enjoyed this little ride down memory lane. Thank you very much.